Hey guys! Today we want to talk about the things that we need to start a project, and also we want to learn how to use mask, blob brush, and effects to eat a donut in Moho. So let's do it! When you want to start a project, first you should have an idea and choose your own style. I've seen a lot of students say that I don't have an idea, and they just sit somewhere and try to wait until a new idea comes. And it's wrong. Why? To answer this, I have a question for you. What if you guys never have heard of the word animation? Then obviously you're not gonna choose it as your own job because you haven't heard of it. Ideas are just like the same. If you don't try to analyze and study other one's style, you're not gonna become a person who has its own unique style because you will not know what it means to be unique. So what should you do to begin? First, you have to copy other one's artworks. While you're doing that, try to understand how they do it, why did they choose that style, and where the idea comes from. And then you will find the inspiration. Some artists find their inspiration from the nature, other one's styles are sometimes a combination of some styles that they've studied, and sometimes it's just something that suddenly or unintentionally happens to you. And you have to be confident and brave to start and continue it. Now let's talk about style. When we say style, it can be a lot of things, like using fill or not, or using stroke or not, or maybe it's something related to the shadows, like using hard shadows or soft shadows, or sometimes it's related to how you draw different kinds of shapes. For example, let's say we want to draw a nose. A nose can be a straight line, a semicircular, a full circle, or something more similar to an actual nose. Or it can be anything that you define. Now you got the point. We can go further and talk about having texture or not, or the level of detail, and so on. The next thing that you should do is that you should collect some references. It might be some pictures of the objects and characters that you want to design for your projects, or maybe some screenshots from popular movies and series, or even poetry or lyrics or text. Or maybe some pictures from different styles that you want to use in your project or anything else. So it depends on the project that you're working on. And then you can start your project. Okay, to begin, I'm going to bring my references. So I go to here and click on image. Then I select my references and import them. Let me put my references on the right side. Okay, my donut is gonna be like this, but I'm gonna change the style of it and maybe use other references to make my shape better. So I'm gonna click on here and hit the S key to select the draw shape tool, and then I select the circle, and then I uncheck these two options because I don't want any stroke or fill right now. And by holding down the Alt and Shift, I'm gonna draw my circle. Let's hit the T key and make it a little bit bigger. I'm holding down the Alt this time. This should be good. I'm gonna hold down the Control and press C and then V to make a copy of this circle and change the scale of it by holding down the Alt to scale it from the center. And to create my donut, I can hit the U key to select the Create Shape tool, hit Ctrl A to select all of the points, and choose Fill because I don't want my style to have a stroke. And then I can simply pick a color from one of my references and choose Create Shape. It's time to call this layer Torus and hit Enter. And then I'm gonna hit the S key, and then I have to create a new layer. So I go here and choose Vector. Let's call this one Cream. I hit Enter to confirm the name. Then I choose a star and draw a star in the middle of this shape. Then I hit the T key, adjust its position. And it's time to hit the C key and choose a smooth to make all of the points smooth. Then I hold down the Control and drag to select these points. Hit the T key to select the transform tool. And I drag from here. By holding down the Alt, I can do it from the center to make it look like my reference. Then I hold down the Control and select one of these points and by holding down the Control and Shift, I can add to my selection. So I select the other points. By holding down the Alt, I change the scale of it, and to subtract a circle from it, we need a circle just like this one. So we can hold down the Control and drag to select this circle, and then I hold down the Control and press C to copy this circle and choose this layer, and press Ctrl V to paste it. Then I hit the U key to select the Create Shape tool, hit Ctrl A to select all of the points, choose a color like this, and click on Create Shape. As you can see, none of these are completely symmetrical, so I can hit the T key and move some of these points to add some variation to them. And maybe it's better to make this circle smaller than this. So I'm gonna hold down the Control and drag to select it and drag it from here. I'm holding down the Alt to do it from the center. Then I create a new layer. I think we call them sugar strand. So I'm gonna click on here and type the name of it and press enter to confirm the name. Then I hit the J key to select the blob brush, and by holding down the Alt, I can change the size of my brush, smaller than this. Okay, let's test it. I'm gonna choose a red color and draw. Compared to my references, this size should be good. So I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and start to draw all of them. I forgot to disable auto stroke. To remove all of the strokes, I can simply hit Q, select all of them, and remove their strokes. Then I click on somewhere to deselect these shapes, and hit the J key to select the blob brush, and select the blue color to draw the rest of them. So let me click on here. Now that we have all of them, I want to add some effects and mask them. So first let me select cream, hit Q, and select it, choose advanced, so I can apply 2 effects rather than 1. Then I go to here and choose shaded. In the style that I chose, I want my shadows to be soft. But for this cream, it's better to use hard shadows. And just like this reference, I want to have some light from one side and shadow from the other side. So I simply type 90 here, click on here, reduce this amount, and choose OK. And then I click on OK. This time I go here, select shaded again, and because I want to work on the other side, I add 180 degrees to 90. So I type 270, click on here, choose a white color, and click on OK. Click on here, maybe it's better to reduce the value of alpha, and click on OK. Let's take a look at it. It's good. I'm gonna click on OK, and you should know that if I uncheck this one, none of these effects are gonna be gone. So it's okay to click on here to have more space for layer window. I'm gonna select sugar strand and click on here to select all of them. Then I enable advanced and give them a shaded effect. This time to have a harder shadow, I'm gonna enable the threshold and type 0 here, type 90 here, and I type 0 here again, and then I increase this value. I'm looking at this one right now. Yeah, it should be good. I'm gonna click on here and reduce the value of alpha and click on OK. And again, it's time to apply the lights. So I'm gonna select this one, enable the threshold, type 270, type 0, 0, change the color to white, and reduce the value of alpha, and click on OK. Now by increasing the value of offset, I can add some light to them. Then I click on OK. And the reason I used the threshold here was that they're not soft at all, and I wanted to emphasize on them a little bit. So I'm gonna select OK, uncheck advanced option, and to create a shadow for Torus and also the whole donut, we can select it, choose duplicate to make a copy of it. Let's type it shadow and press enter to confirm the name. Move it to the top, hit Q, and to apply this shadow to all of these shapes, we need to create a mask, because eventually, let me select it and choose a dark color for it and reduce its opacity. You can see that if we make this circle bigger to cover the cream as well, some part of the shadow is going to be outside of this shape, and we don't want that. So we can create a mask to make sure that this shadow is going to be applied to every part of our donut and nowhere else. So I'm going to click on cancel and hold down the shift, select the bottom layer to select all of the layers, right click on them and choose group with selection. Let's call this group donut and press enter. Then by holding down the control, I'm going to select these 3 layers. I have to deselect this one and duplicate them. I'm going to add a mask to their name. Then I hold down the control and select all of them. Move them to the bottom of this group. Right click on the group. Choose mask inside bottom layer to mask this group. And for these layers, because we already have their shapes in these layers, we can right click on them and choose add to mask but keep invisible. We choose add to mask because we want to tell the Moho that this is the area that we want to show our shapes in. And we choose but keep invisible because we already have those shapes in these layers. So I'm going to right click on them and choose this option. These 3 layers are set to be mask this layer, as you can see. So it means that every shape that you draw in these layers is going to be shown in these areas. And also shadow should be masked this layer. So it's okay. I'm going to click on here, hit the T key to select the transform tool, hold down the control and select one point. Then I hold down the control and shift and add to my selection. I'm going to hold down the alt key to make this shape bigger. Then I hold down the control again and select this part. By holding down the alt, I can scale it from the center. Now I can make sure that this shape is going to cover all of my donut. To create my shadow, I'm going to hit Q, select my shape and apply a gradient effect. I'm going to double click on this color, choose black, click on OK and set the type of it to radial, because obviously we want to apply these colors from the center of this circle to here. So as you can see, when we are closer to the center, it's going to be darker. When we are in between, it's going to be brighter. And then again, when we are closer to the edges, it's going to be darker. So I'm going to double click on here and reduce its alpha value and click on OK. Then I check allow transparency to apply this alpha value. And now we can see our shape. Now we can simply move these points to put the brighter part between these 2 circles. Then I'm gonna move this one. This should be good. And from here, okay, this one is good too. If you want, you can move it a little bit. And that's it. Now I click on OK. And then again, I click on here and select one of these colors and reduce its alpha value because we don't want them to be completely black. And then I click on OK. And this one too. Yeah, now I'm more happy with it. So if you want to eat this donut in Moho, you need a reference for that. So I'm gonna click on here and bring my reference. Move it outside of this group and put it somewhere right here. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. Okay, to add this donut, we can create a new layer by clicking on one of these layers and going to here and clicking on vector. The reason that I select one of these layers in this group is that I wanted to create my layer inside this group. Let's call it eat. I press enter, scroll down. I'm gonna put this layer here. The reason I did that is that I want to set it to be subtract from mask. You should know that Moho always reads your layers from bottom to the top. It means that first it's gonna add these layers to your mask and then it subtract this one. And the result would be the area that Moho is gonna draw these shapes in. So now if I draw a shape in this layer and select circle to draw, and I'm gonna set this to plane and check fill because I want to have fill and draw my shape, you can see that Moho is gonna subtract this from these areas. But if you move this layer to the bottom of sugar strand mask, it first adds these two layers and then subtracts this one. And then again it adds sugar strand to your area. That's why we still can see them here. So it's very important where this layer is gonna be. In this case, because we wanna eat this donut, we have to put this layer at the top of sugar strand. So now I'm gonna hit the T key, and because all of these points are selected, I hit the delete key, then I hit A to select the add point tool. Make sure you check auto weld and sharp corners. I check the auto weld because I want to create a closed path, and I check the sharp corners because I want the points of my shape to be sharp. And then I'm gonna draw something like this. It's time to hit the T key, hold down the control and click on somewhere. I'm gonna adjust these points. Then I'm gonna hold down the control and select these points, hit the C key and select the smooth. Now we can draw inside of it, this part. So I'm gonna click on here because I want my new layer to be at the top of this layer, and then I go here and select vector, click on here and type inside and press enter. I don't want to mask this layer, so I right click on it and choose don't mask this layer, and then I choose a color like this one, and I hit the J key to select the blob brush, and I click on here and select plane and hold down the Alt and drag to the right to change the size of my brush. Then I scroll up to zoom in. I draw something like this. Then I hit the T key, hold down the control and click on somewhere. I move this point to here, hit the C key, hold down the Alt and drag. Then I hit the T key, move this point to here, hold down the control, select all of these points, scale them a little bit. By holding down the Alt you can do it from the center. Then I move them down a little bit. After that I hold down the control and click on somewhere, move this to here. Then I hit the Q, select it, hit the home key to reset my view. And now we can do a lot of things. First you may want to add some shadow to here. So I'm going to check advanced, click on here, choose shaded, type 90, 270. Click on here, then I click on here and type 0, and here again. After that I'm gonna add some blur to it, and offset as well, maybe more blur, and then I click on here and reduce the value of alpha and click on here, and then again I click on here. For this edge you can add some shadows as well. So I'm gonna click on here, choose shaded, click on here and type 90, click on this one, type 0, 0 again, then again I adjust them manually. I'm gonna increase this a little bit, and that should be good. So I click on OK and hit Ctrl R. Looks delicious, isn't it? I'm gonna close this and uncheck this option. And if you're wondering how you can eat it during the animation, using this option, you can make the layer visible or invisible during the animation. So now I'm going to click on OK, hold on the Alt and right click on here to tell Moho that this is where my animation ends. Double click on here, uncheck visible, click on OK. Do the same with this layer. Then on the frame 24, you can check their visibilities. And now by hitting space or clicking on here, you can play your animation. The reason that we see the result in black is that not the gradient but the actual fill of the shadow layer is black, and the solution is that we have to click on the group. And another reason is that you have to enable this option. And if I play it, you can see the result in real time. That's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and see you in the next one.